Another dumb thing, only washing my locks on retwist days. Hey good people, it's Sheena and I'm back with another video. So let's talk about some dumb things I've done. Maybe you've done the same thing over my lock journey. Some of these mistakes or some of these dumb things I did in the beginning, like year 1, month 3, day 1. And some of these things may not necessarily be dumb or dumb for you, but it was dumb for me. I did not figure out what type of grid pattern I wanted for my locks. And this may not be a big deal for most people, but for me, since my hair wasn't like naturally full, I definitely should have thought that through as far as what's the best way for my hair to be parted. Now I went with like a traditional brick pattern, but my parts were very small. If I could go back, I probably would have made them slightly larger. I started off with very small traditional locks, but looking back at my hair, it looks like I almost had micro locks. Even now, people will come up to me and be like, "Ooh, I love your sister locks," but they ain't. And I feel like you have to put someone that has sister locks beside me, and then those people realize, nah, those aren't sister locks. But they were definitely small traditional locks. Now, if you're starting your lock journey and you're trying to figure out what's the best parting system for you, or what's the best way for you to part your hair, I always say if you have time, throw in some 2-strand twists, some comb coils, and just see how it looks, how it lays the first day, the first week, maybe 2 weeks. And also, if you start off smaller, then it gives you the opportunities to go larger versus starting off larger and then realizing that you should have gone a little smaller. Another thing about figuring out what kind of braid pattern I wanted or what kind of lock pattern I wanted, you definitely want to think about what your inspiration is. So Lauryn Hill was one of my biggest inspirations for getting locks. So what made me go smaller? I don't know, because that wasn't the size of her locks. So another thing I did was I started my locks off with beeswax. Why? The only thing I can think of as far as why I started my locks off with beeswax, because you know, that's what I saw people doing. A lot of people from the island was like, yeah, I use beeswax, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if I got the wrong kind of beeswax from the beauty supply store, but the consistency of it and just, my hair didn't feel good. I mean, it was always sticky like. It took me a while to wash it out my hair. If I would have continued using beeswax, my hair probably would be perfectly fine. But I was just going off of how it felt, so I only used beeswax once on my hair. Another dumb thing, only washing my locks on retwist days. So I retwisted my hair maybe every 6 weeks. Sometimes it was every 4 weeks. And that's when I would wash my hair. If I went longer than 6 weeks, maybe if I went 2 months, I waited 2 months until it was time for me to get a retwist and I washed my hair. I really didn't have a reason not to wash my hair. It's not like I was going to a stylist to get my hair done. If I did wash my hair in between retwists, it was probably because I was doing some type of braid out. But yeah, having the logic that you only wash your locks when you get a retwist was dumb for me. Anybody else, it may be different, but for me, it was dumb. Retwisting my hair too often and too tightly. So a lot of times I would retwist my hair every 4 to 6 weeks. And your girl never really wavered from that schedule. So that's the thing about being able to do your own hair, retwist your own locks. You can pretty much have a fresh retwist whenever you want. Like there isn't an event that could come up that you would not be prepared to go to without a fresh retwist. And sometimes that does more harm than good, because you may not retwist your entire head, but you might do one of those sneaky retwists. And if you watch my video on why my hair is thin, you know what type of sneaky retwist I'm talking about. But you could go in and throw a few twists in and boom, people think you got a fresh retwist. Like I could be retwisting my hair and let's just say I clip it and it unravels a little bit because I didn't clip it in the right direction. I would go back and retwist it again to the point that it is like laid, because that's how I felt my retwist needed to be. It needed to lay a certain way, almost like I just got a perm. So that was something, if you think about it, retwisting too often on top of making sure the twists were like super tight, not cool and very dumb. So one dumb thing I did, or rather I did not do, I did not establish a wash routine or moisturizing routine. And this is very important because you do need to understand when your hair is telling you I'm nasty, when your hair is telling you I'm dry, so you can know how long you usually need to go in between washes or oil treatments. So I just really washed my hair when I was about to retwist it, but I definitely wasn't into like what type of moisturizer in anything like that. So establishing those routines and making sure you know when to switch those routines up, just like the weather changes, the season changes, you may have to change your routine as well. So that was something dumb that I didn't do. I didn't try to figure out what's the routine for my hair. But I think at the time, locks were just like solo maintenance for me. You know, I was in college, I had a new baby, I was newly married. So I just really wasn't trying to put any more effort into my locks. I was not patient with my locks up until month 4. And what happened month 4? Probably some budding action. But up until then, I was looking at my locks every day, feeling my locks every day, wondering when are they going to look like locks and not 2-strand twists. I just wasn't patient enough. And that brings me to my next point. Hand in hair disease or disorder. Yes, a lot of people, including me, when we first get that lock installed, we're always doing this. Always twisting, always got our hand in our head, and it's hard not to do. But I've learned sometimes less manipulation is the best thing to do. So putting my hand in my head all the time, twisting it around, like, why am I twisting my hair? I just retwisted it, or it's not time for a retwist. But I naturally just twist my hair and twist my hair. And back then it didn't really seem like a big deal, but now that I think about it, you know, it's just really unnecessary manipulation, you know? Dyeing my hair every 6-8 weeks for years on years on years. So that's definitely something dumb I did. It's done for me because I assumed because I wasn't going light, like it wasn't going to be any damage to my hair, or the fact that I really didn't see any damage. But we know now that sometimes damage does not come until later on. Like by the time you see it, it's like kind of too late. So yeah, dyeing my hair as long as I did, as frequently as I did, was another dumb thing I did. And I am trying not to dye my hair. It's been a while, and I don't know if you see, but I do have the grays that are trying to come in. So I am thinking about using a lower developer and see if I can get away with that, and see if that will be better on me, because I feel like the dye I was using before, maybe it was too harsh. But yeah, me dyeing my hair all those years and not once thinking about, do I have hair damage, is like crazy. But I never really thought about it because I didn't really see any damage. Comparing my locks to others who have totally different hair textures and they are at different parts in their lock journey. Like, that's just dumb. Like, why would I do that to myself? It's okay to be like, oh, I like your locks, I like your texture, but to do it to the point where, how can I make my locks the same texture as someone else, just doesn't make any sense. How can I enhance my natural texture sounds more appropriate. But yeah, early on, I would see locks, and in my mind, I guess I was thinking, you know, all locks kind of look the same. And that could be because a lot of people with 4B, 4C hair textures were locking. Like, you did not see a lot of people with super loose, wavy hair texture locking their hair way back in the day. Probably because people told them your hair ain't gonna never lock. But now you do see that more often. For me, I was looking at people that had maybe huge, thick, very large parts and liking their hair. And I'm like, my hair, the parting isn't even the same. So yeah, that's definitely something dumb that I did, was just comparing my hair or my locks where it just, there was no comparison. I didn't document the beginning of my journey enough. And it sounds silly because I do have a lot of pictures, but they're more from when my hair got maybe past my ear or right at my ear. But in the beginning, like from day one to the first year, I just don't have a lot. And I think that's super important to people that are just starting their lock journey. When you are second guessing yourself, second guessing the process, second guessing if your hair is actually doing anything, is the texture changing from, twist comb coils to actual budding locking? Are they growing? It's hard to see when you're looking at yourself every day. So I would encourage you to go ahead and snap that pic, take that video of your locks now while they are in the early stages. So those days when you feel frustrated and you feel like nothing is going on, you can be like, okay, well, this is how it looked on day one and this is how it's looking now. Even if you're not someone that likes to take pictures, and I'm not saying like to even put it on social media, this is just for you to help you along your journey. So I hope all of the dumb things I've gone over that I did in my lock journey will help you along yours. Hopefully you will be able to skip over some of the hurdles I went through just from not even thinking about certain things, and you can enjoy your journey. It can provide and be all the things you want it to be. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time, take care.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated.